Good afternoon. I wanted to offer you all some chocolate for Happy St. Patrick's Day, and it was last time I had some electronical devices that made a little too much noise and a little too much conversation. Help you all get through a long day.
All right, go ahead, sir. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of the committee.
My name is Paul T. McCarrier, and I'm from Washington, Maine, and I'm here to speak on behalf of LD 750. Senate Chair Mason, House Chair Plummer, esteemed members of the committee, thank you for taking the time to hear us all today. There's been many great points brought up about marijuana use today, but I'm going to come here and speak specifically about prescription pills and the problems that they're causing in our communities. As you've heard from the previous testimony from the Maine drug enforcement agents, there is a resource problem within that state agency right now, and they're having trouble going after enough drug criminals as they'd like. And they say that they're stretched too thin. And so I would like to ask people of the committee, what do we see as more of a threat to your communities? Do we see prescription pills, where, as the previous person mentioned, we have people robbing Rite Aid's pharmacies at knife point to just consume drugs, or a plant which, from Mr. Representative Chipman's testimony, people can't even overdose on. There's a very, very real prescription drug problem in this state, and it's a very, very real prescription drug problem in my community, Mid-Coast Maine. And one thing that I have noticed is that in these tough times, people like to get messed up. People need an escape. Things are tough, they need something. And unfortunately, these pills are what's available to them. It's these pills which are being given to them, it's these pills which are being pushed upon them, and there's often no other legal option. And while I do not support the legalization of marijuana, I do support the decriminalization, because this could stop people being so scared of producing something which helps them get through their day. Much like an Irishman might have 6 beers on St. Patrick's Day to get through Lent, or someone might have a joint after work. But these are really, really important issues in my community, and if people had the option of not fearing jail or prison, then they might be more enthusiastic to not take prescription pills or abuse prescription pills illegally than to have these. One part that was also mentioned is that how by moving the cultivation from a criminal offense to a civil offense would then mean that the person would not be entitled to a free defense attorney in the state. And I'm not sure how many of you have been following the news about I believe it's the Office of Indignant Legal Services, but they're already having a budget shortfall, and they need hundreds of thousands of dollars more just to cover providing constitutional legal service to people in this state. So, if this committee voted to pass this bill, and then the House and Senate proceeded with that, anyone who would be caught cultivating 6 or fewer plants would be given a civil offense, which means that they would not be entitled to a state-funded attorney, and they would only be facing a fine and not jail time. And that would really help unclog our overworked court system, and we could really start focusing on what the real problem is in this state, which I think is violent crime, violent property crime, and a lot of these very hard drug cases. District Attorney Everett Fowle, last year, I believe, proposed that the decriminalization be for up to 4 ounces, and this is again kind of going back to the same subject of if people aren't able to produce it, where are they going to get it from? And as this gentleman had said before me, that is going to come from out of state, and as from what people have said earlier about the MDEA, those people don't care about our communities, they only want our money. And so with that, I would just ask you to please vote ought to pass on LD 750.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is James P. Fowler. I live at 139 A Street, Pittsfield, Maine. Little interesting thing I'd like to add, not part of my testimony. The gentleman brought up chocolate. Chocolate contains an extreme amount of caffeine, and if you check into it, you can kill yourself with caffeine. Go OD on the chocolate he just brought you, okay? Smoke a joint, I don't care how much I smoke, I can't kill myself with it. Yay. I'd also like to state that in prior times, speaking before panels such as this and in public speaking, I'm kind of manic. In times I get manic and things come out of my mouth that are rather militant. My colleagues are all kind of worried about what I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to be amicable. I am here today to give testimony to you regarding the decriminalization of up to 5 ounces of cannabis and up to 6 cannabis plants. I stand before you a poster child for a system gone wrong. One that has gone wrong to the point that it costs the taxpayers thousands of dollars on a daily basis, yet yields them nothing in return other than a few very disrupted lives whose moral character and core values are questioned, accused of wrongdoings, and more times than not denigrated and defamed by those sworn to protect and serve them in time of need. To say the least, on the outcome of my situation, I now have extreme distrust in the police and the whole judicial system. For those of you who don't know of me, I was the first in a long, steady, ever-increasing line of legal medical marijuana patients and caregivers to be rated under the new medical marijuana laws. Very much despite my legality as a patient and caregiver, I was wrongly charged with cultivation and possession of a plant that I had legal right to possess, use, and cultivate under the laws of this state. All but 6 of my plants, 3 in flower and 3 small clones, were removed from my premises. For nearly a year, my case was dragged through the court system by which I was being prosecuted and persecuted against for possessing that plant that I and my patients had legal right to possess, grow, and use. Being of extreme low income, I was afforded a court-appointed attorney via indigent services, and my whole raid, trial proceedings, and legal defense became the burden of the taxpayers of this state. I am most certain that my case has already cost the taxpayers of this state a great deal of money. And due to the fact that this case is still technically open and potentially ongoing, it could potentially cost them tens of thousands of dollars more. I ask, for what good has all this been done? To remove legal medication from law-abiding citizens? Or was it done to test the laws? Either way, it has cost the taxpayers a lot of money, unnecessary money, and tied up the police and court systems for a lot of time that could and should very well have been used to deal with a real criminal. In fact, upon my questioning, the lead detective that performed my raid regarding him re-entering my home at a future date, you know, if one got across his butt or whatever, there I go, sorry. Anyway, I questioned him regarding that, and his statement to me was, he told me that it was not even worth his while in the first place, and it would certainly not be worth his while to ever consider wanting to enter my home again. Well, I ask, if it's not worth his while to perform the raid in the first place, then why on earth was it good and copacetic to drop countless thousands of dollars running me through the court system? Okay? The scenario I have just given you describes nothing less than insanity and mayhem of a grand scale on behalf of not only the people performing my raid, but the whole judicial system as well. The decriminalization of marijuana of the proportions proposed by these 2 pieces of legislation would be a very positive move towards stopping the wasting of precious tax dollars used for prosecuting people for utilizing a substance that has very obvious medicinal effects.
My name is Dean DeWitt, and I'm a nurse registered from China Village. I'm a little disenfranchised from my profession by choice, perhaps. But I wanted to point out a discrepancy in the issue of the use of medicinal marijuana. For myself, for an example, you know, it's assumed that people go to doctors for everything. I do not. I am a little upset with healthcare and the intrusion of government into telling me how I need to conduct my healthcare needs in my life. And I've been without a doctor for many years and without insurance for many years. I don't go. Haven't weighed myself for 2 years, don't know what my blood pressure is or cholesterol level, haven't had a colostomy. Thank you just the same. I want to live my life. I don't want to be tied up with those issues. But I fall into that category of not having health insurance, not having a doctor. In my mind, it's treating me unfairly to require that I go to a doctor to obtain a medicine that should be free and available for anybody I would point out the uses of medicinal marijuana, but recreationally, and also for food and for fiber. There's no reason why it should be prohibited by anybody for anybody. The Bible states that God has given us herb-bearing seed. I don't think men should take that away from us. And that's my comment for today. Thank you.
My name is Richard Rice. I live in the town of Hollis. I'm a Maine resident my whole life. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon and your consideration from the committee. Some people suggest that we would be adding another vice to alcohol by considering the two bills that are in front of us today. I propose, on the contrary, that we would not be adding another vice, but we would be allowing adults the option of choosing a less harmful alternative for relaxation and recreation. Currently, laws intentionally steer Americans towards the use of alcohol when many of these citizens would prefer to use a far less dangerous substance, marijuana. In 2004, investigators from the U.S. Center of Disease Control wrote in the Journal of the American Medical Association that alcohol consumption is the third leading cause of death in America, trailing only tobacco smoking and poor diet. By contrast, following a series of evidentiary hearings in 1988, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration's administrative law judge concluded, and I quote, "In strict medical terms, marijuana is far safer than many of the foods we commonly consume. Marijuana in its natural form is one of the safest therapeutically active substances known to man," end quote. In regards to the great state of Maine, budgets are, out of necessity, about making choices. This is especially true when resources are scarce, such as when state and local governments are grappling with budget gaps between revenue and program commitments. Providing funds for one program often means accepting less or no funds for some other government activity. For example, providing law enforcement with the obligation or opportunity to make arrests for marijuana offenses deprives law enforcement of funds to apply to other important investigations and activities. Marijuana arrests also divert law enforcement and criminal justice system resources from possession and sales offenses involving the dangerous illicit drugs. In 2007, marijuana arrests were 57% of all drug arrests in Maine. Other drugs such as cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and the synthetic narcotics OxyContin present a far more serious threat to both individual and the public. There's a general consensus that minors should not use alcohol, tobacco, or marijuana. According to the most recent 2007 data, 17,000 youths in the state of Maine in the ages of 12 to 17 used marijuana within the past year. Of that 17,000, 10,000 of that age group used marijuana within the past month. Marijuana's illegal status did not prevent these youths from having access to marijuana. Most teenagers report... Yes.
You're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay. In conclusion, I believe that adults should have the legal choice to use either alcohol or marijuana, whichever substance they prefer. It simply doesn't make any sense at all to punish adults who make the rational decision to consume the less harmful of the two substances. What is wrong about the notion of an adult using marijuana responsibly in the privacy of his or her own home?